this is the third lesson in the Year 9 Computer Networks unit. And what we'll have a look at over the next few moments is we'll take a look at the workings of the internet in a little bit more depth, and in particular try and understand what the following acronyms mean: IP address, ISP, URL, and DNS. So we will hopefully understand what these acronyms mean and understand the basics of how the internet uses these technologies. So just a quick reminder, the internet is a network of networks. It's all the computers that are connected together across the globe. And what we did hopefully learn from last lesson is the idea that a computer file, when it's sent out across the network, it will be split up into lots of data packets, and each data packet will have a destination address, a return address, will have the data itself, and also a sequence number. And when it's sent out over the internet, it will go through lots of different routes. Every data packet will take different routes according to availability, and then will be received by the recipient's computer, and the sequence number will then piece those data packets back together to reform the original file. But there's other things that we need to know about the workings of the internet. In particular, we need to understand how we can access different websites and what happens when we actually do a search for a web page that then gets sent to our browser. So, IP addresses. Now that means Internet Protocol Address, and it's a unique number given to every computer that is on the internet. No two computers can have the same address. Now, every time you access the internet, it may be that you're given a different IP address, or it might be that you're given the same one, but that depends on your internet service provider, and we'll learn a little bit about them later. Here's an example of an IP address, and it's important to not get worried or scared about the acronym IP, and not get scared about what an internet protocol address actually is, because it's just like the postal address or the address of your home. It's used to your home address is used to identify your house. No two houses can have the same address, so that the post men and post ladies know where to send the mail. So just like that, on a computer, every computer that joins the internet is given its own unique IP address so that different computers know where to send the data. Now, ISPs. This means Internet Service Provider, and it's the companies that provide you with your internet connection. Now, it says here, can you name any ISPs? Well, currently, I have the ISP for my home is Sky. So Sky provide me with my internet connection. But other ISPs might be BT, might be TalkTalk, and so on. Now, a URL. This means Uniform Resource Locator. It's a scary name for just a web address. For example, bbc.co.uk. That is a web address, but that's also known as a URL, a Uniform Resource Locator. And google.com is another URL. Now, in order to access websites, we use something known as a DNS. Now, a DNS is a domain name system, or a domain name server, and it's the system which is used to find the computer which hosts the website you're looking for. Now, remember, every computer, whether it's a web server or whether it's just a normal PC, if it connects to the internet, it's going to have its own IP address. So when you want to access a website, your computer will only be able to talk to that web host if it knows its IP address. But we as human beings aren't very good at remembering lots of sequences of numbers. We can't remember the IP address of the BBC web host or the Google web server. But we're quite good at remembering company names, and we're quite good at remembering URLs or websites, web addresses. And it's DNS which helps us to get the connection between our computer and the web server. So let's have a look at this in a bit more detail. So you can't remember the IP address of a computer which hosts, for example, the BBC website. So what you do is you type in the URL into the browser. So you type in www.bbc.co.uk, for example. Now that will not take you directly to the BBC website. What happens instead is that URL is sent to your internet service provider's DNS. Now a DNS is a little bit like an address book. So in a DNS, it has all of the different websites that there are in the world and all of the IP addresses of the computers where those websites are stored. So the URL is sent to your ISP, sent to BT or sent to TalkTalk, and they then look up the URL that you're requesting in their big address book, in their DNS, and they find it and they send back to you the website's IP address. And once the IP address gets sent back to your computer, you can then communicate directly with the computer that hosts the website on the internet and therefore access the BBC website or Google or YouTube or any other website that you're looking for. So hopefully now you have a little bit of a better understanding of what happens when you're on the internet and you're trying to access different websites. And if you ever hear of these acronyms, IP, ISP, URL, DNS, hopefully you've got a better understanding now.